All right, hey, today we are doing decimal division, okay? We need to know some key terms, so I want you to write this in your notes. The dividend divided by the divisor equals the quotient. All right, so if we take this then and we write it, how we write it, we put the divisor on the outside, the dividend goes on the inside. Remember, we flip those. And then our answer is our quotient. Remember our steps. Divide, multiply, and subtract, bring it on down, bring it on back. That's what we're doing. All right, so let's pretend there's a decimal in the dividend only. Okay, so 1 2/10 divided by 5. That'll be our example. Okay, to do this, our rule is this: decimal and dividend. Only in the dividend, we bring it straight up. Bring it straight up. Or bring the decimal straight up. Okay, so here we go. We're going to write it. 5 goes into 1 2/10. We bring the decimal straight up. I can ignore the decimal. Doesn't even exist. All right, I'll do it in a different color so you can see. 5 goes into 1, 0 times. 5 goes into 12, 2 times. I can't have a remainder. So what I need to do if I have a remainder is I'm going to annex zeros if necessary. Annex zeros. You can write out the word 0 if you want. Okay, so let's annex a 0, and we'll keep going. 5 goes into 20, 4 times. No remainder. I'm done. Okay? Let's do one that would have had a remainder. Let's do 3 divided by 5. Okay, there's no decimals right now, so I'm going to write it. 5 goes into 3. 5 goes into 3 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. Okay, I can't have a remainder. So I need to add a decimal place, annex a 0. And I can annex as many zeros as I want. 5 goes into 30 6 times. I'm done. I don't have a remainder. I could keep going, but I'm just going to keep ending up with 0 0 zeros. All right, so we will not have a remainder with decimals. Okay, now let's say there's a decimal in our divisor. So let's do 1 2/10 divided by 5/10. Okay, I cannot have a decimal in my divisor. So I need to get my decimal out of my divisor. I need to, the way I like to say it, is we are going to, and I'll write this up above here, bump both decimals until none in divisor. We can always have one in our dividend. We've already talked about that. We're going to bring it straight up. But in the divisor, we need to bump it out. Okay, so here's what I have. I have 0.5 divided by 1.2 divided by 0.5. I cannot have this decimal, so I'm going to bump it out. I'm going to bump them both. Bump them both to the right. I bump that to the right. I bump that to the right. And now I'm left with 5 into 12. Okay? So just like we did earlier. 5 goes into 12, 1, 0 times, 5 goes into 12, 2 times 5 is 10. I have a remainder. I can't have a remainder, so I'm going to annex a 0. I'm going to bring it straight up. 5 goes into 20, 4 times. So 5, 1 2/10 divided by 5/10 was 2 4/10. That's my final answer. I don't have to change it back or anything. I bumped both decimals. This makes sense. If you have $1.20 and you're dividing it by half a person, you get $2.40 each. That wasn't a good example, but that's how it works. Okay, let me give you another example of this. Let's say we have 3 3/10 pounds of coffee, and we're gonna give each person 11 hundredths of a pound of coffee. How many people can we give it to? Okay, so I have a decimal here and I have a decimal here. So I have got to bump this decimal out. So I'm gonna bump it over once. Uh-oh. Gonna have to annex some zeros, right? I can always annex as many zeros as I want. So I'm gonna bump it over 1, 2 times. 1, 2 times. 1, 2 times. And then I'll bring it straight up, my final answer. So let me rewrite this. I like to write it neater. 11 goes into 330. And I could annex some zeros, but I know this one I'm not gonna need to. 11 goes into 3, 0 times. 11 goes into 33, 3 times. Multiply and subtract. Bring it on down. Bring it on back. Divide. 0, multiply, and subtract. I don't have a remainder. So my answer is exactly 30. I could keep going. All right, that's how we do decimal division.